Hey, what's up everybody? Chris here, and this is my review of Little Nightmares 2 for Google Stadia. Hey, if you're enjoying the video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel so you'll know when more content's on the way. So I've talked on this channel before about how I think Google Stadia has gotten a bad rap, and recently they did a thing that I didn't really expect. They put a relatively big game as part of their monthly Google Stadia Pro deal. That game, of course, is Little Nightmares 2, and I played Little Nightmares 1 and really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a fantastic game, super atmospheric, really good puzzles, and relatively straightforward. It kind of reminded me of Limbo and Inside, if you've played those. That tradition continues with the sequel, which builds on some of those concepts and actually mixes in a little bit of combat, albeit kind of minimally, to help elevate that experience just a little bit more. But I do have to say that, man, this game can be frustrating. Like, really frustrating. There were times in my playthrough where I ended up having to repeat the same part of a level or a section of the game, 10, 12, 15, 20 times because of some really just ill-placed object in my path, or I thought I was lining up a hit on an enemy and it just barely missed because of the perspective being used in the game. And when that sort of thing happened, I was just this close to stopping and just saying, you know what, I've had fun with this, but I just can't finish it out. However, every time that happened, and I just said to myself, okay, one more try, just one more try and you can get through this, I did manage to overcome those obstacles. It took a little bit of perseverance to get there, and I did make it through all the way to the conclusion of the game. And overall, I would say it's a great experience. And it is really super creepy, which if you play the game, you know sort of the style that's being used here, this really sort of this bizarre, almost sort of, I don't know, surrealist painting sort of world that these characters inhabit. And there is a story here, but it's a wordless story, right? I mean, you don't really have any kind of dialogue. You have just sort of the imagery that's in front of you and in the background to help sort of tie together this idea that there is some sort of broadcast signal being sent out to this city or this land where these characters are located that has sort of brainwashed everybody. Now, I don't want to go into spoilers. There are some heavy themes as you get toward the conclusion of the game that have to do with society and media and how we sort of flock toward it and, are really sort of enveloped in it all the time. And I think it does make for sort of an interesting thought piece in that regard. And yes, again, it is super creepy, and it did really sort of make my skin crawl from time to time. It's almost like a horror movie in that experience. Even playing it on Stadia on my iPad, for example, from time to time, and I would just open my Chrome browser on my iPad. I had my Stadia controller, just sitting on the couch playing it that way. It just made me recoil in disgust at some of the things that are in the game. But it's all for the sake of art, right? And I think that, this is not a typical survival horror type game. It's more of a puzzle game. But it's got a message that it wants the person playing the game to really have to work toward sort of parsing out from what's happening in that larger experience that you have as the characters, plural, that you sort of navigate through this maze of horrors that are Little Nightmares 2. Again, I would say the frustrations that you come across at times almost derail the experience, not completely. But if you're someone who does get frustrated easily trying to work against certain things in the game, whether it's the perspective being used, whether it's the controls, this will start to irk you a little bit. However, if you're going to check it out, I would urge you to press forward, because the way the story concludes and what you get sort of in the last third of the game or the last quarter of the game really makes it worthwhile. In terms of playing it on Stadia, it was a great experience. Every once in a while there would be a little bit of a hiccup here and there, but for the most part, it was a flawless experience. There, again, little things here and there, but overall it was smooth, the connection was good, the visuals are great, it's a really beautiful game. So yeah, whether you're playing it on Stadia or Xbox or PlayStation or wherever it may be, I think it's absolutely worth checking out. As always, thanks for watching the video. If you haven't already done so, once again, please be sure to subscribe. More content is on the way soon.